today, so it's actually true. I'm happy to introduce Dr. Akash Gautam, who's going to introduce us.
Thank you, Alex, and thank you everyone for joining. It gives me immense pleasure to introduce Sangwon Lee. Dr. Lee is an assistant professor in the computer science department at Virginia Tech, where I was previously. His research aims to, I'm going to read it out from his side because I didn't quite prepare. His research aims to create interactive systems that facilitate empathy amongst users. And this part of empathy is what kind of makes his work really exciting for the NCI work. And you can see from the title as well, that's what he's going to talk about. He has a background in music and music composition and a lot of work around creativity, which he has explored over the years. A site like these things are on his website, but a personal connection is he was part of my PhD dissertation committee as well. And with that, Sam, it's all yours.
Great. Well, thank you very much. Thank you very much for coming to this seminar. I just heard that there was another talk right before this. Which was really good. So I didn't know doing this one. Maybe a lot of pressure. But if it's probably not good, it's probably that.
Very people here attending that talk, so don't worry about it.
Okay. So I'm going to talk about still, it's going to be, let's say, ChatGPT 3 for the first 90%. Okay, so I'm going to talk about empathy because I direct the lab, actual lab, and the motto of the lab is computer-mediated empathy. And then maybe you are familiar with the term computer-mediated communication, which is one of the subjects in social science and HCI. So the reason why I thought empathy is an interesting problem is so in the lab, I tried to sort of create a social computer system that mediates empathy. So empathy is a so big challenge, and I don't think I can solve it in one shot. So what I try to do is to break down empathy into smaller components that I can solve in small parts. So I divided it into two parts, like actor who wants to empathize with someone. Target of empathy needs to be understood, where there's some certain emotional tone that they have. So there's like the two, stakeholders here. And then one of the reasons why I think empathy is interesting is because a lot of the problems that we face today in modern society could be framed or seen as people having trouble with other people. People having trouble in empathizing with others. For example, if you're familiar with HCI, this is a common problem in HCI 101, UI designer or developer not being able to understand the challenges that certain people usually have. Or let's say experts, like expert programmers, like or expert programmers not being able to empathize with all the students. Or even school system or instructor not being able to understand the challenges that certain groups of people who are marginalized in education had trouble in. So that's why I think this is an interesting problem. And then by the way, there's like short link to the slide in case you need anything. So this is sort of like a framework that I want to build for my career, research career. So I create this two human figure, and like draw this arrow, and then looks empty. So what do I do? I'm a researcher. I do literature review, and I try to understand what people have studied about empathy, and then I realize that empathy has been studied in a lot of different disciplines, from philosophy, psychology, computer science, anthropology, and so forth. So, and one of the framework that I really like for is framework suggested by White. She's actually from university, and then probably some of you might have heard of it, but if you have watched the TED Talk by Graham Brown, who talked about vulnerability. So there are four components: perspective sharing. So you can share perspectives and see it from someone else's perspective, and staying non-judgmental, and recognizing emotion, that you should be able to meet someone's emotion by their face and voice, and communicating back how they understood their emotion. So that's four components. And of course, because I study computer-mediated, everything happens through the computers, like social media or like Zoom. So in those communication, the way that computer-mediated communication happens will affect empathy as well. So understanding computer-mediated communication is another very useful magnitude. And today, like I'm going to give you some example of perspective sharing that I'm actually focusing on. But there's something uncomfortable about the picture. Like the person will draw a diagram to make it symmetrical, right? So what do I feel on the right side? So that was my question. So that, and then one of the common themes that I found in so-called empathic computing, and then you might have heard of it from a talk that said VR headset is the ultimate empathy machine because you can literally experience someone else's perspective by this very immersive to someone else's life. So there are some existing research as well as content from practitioners. Like, so for example, Project Syria is the immersive content that you can experience how it feels like to live in that. There's another project in Stanford University that we can experience how a person can become homeless, like from the moment that you cannot pay your bills and you get evicted from an apartment, and then you have to sleep on the street, and then people on bus you stay away from you because it's not. So these are the some of the approaches that have been happening in computing. And this is good. I think this is a great approach, but also I feel like there are something different here. So one missing thing that I thought is that is it just actors problem? Like how can we involve targets? So in these content creation, like you don't see these actual people who live in like that. You don't see like actual. I don't know if they actually invite them and then like inform the design of this content, right? So it's not just actors problem. Like a lot of the times we just frame the problem as, oh, like you got emphasize the problem, so it's your problem. But it may not be. There could be something else that we can do for the target. So that's kind of a message that I'm convey here today. The other thing is that it's portraying target for sympathy beyond the right. So this again, these are great projects, I think, but empathy happens everywhere, not just for people who live in battlefield, but also in everyday life, right? Between collaborators, like between the private FC. Let's say graduate students thinking of the professor will probably be successful, right? So there are a lot of different ways that empathy can be useful, and then so like some of the focus is focused like mostly on the case where make people feel sympathy. And then I'm going to talk about the sympathy later. And then another reason that I touched on already, the reason why I thought this was interesting problem is because I have this music background. So believe it or not, in every picture on the side, there's me somewhere. So I was teaching computer music person who present my research as a performance. So I go on a stage and perform my music and then just like a research presentation. And from the person who's coming from musical background, and then let's step back and let's think about musical instrument for a minute. So musical instrument, like in HCI in general, they talk about usability. You have to create UI to be usable, intuitive to use, right? So in every way, musical instrument is horrible, right? So if there is a first, like coming to music world, the shift that they should have done is to get rid of it, replace it with something that is easy. So we didn't do that. Why? Because there's still I would say crazy set of people who spend time and effort and even money to be virtuosic at these, right? Even though it's horrible. So I think part of the reason, and there are many reasons, but part of the reason could be the power of empathy music, like the being able to express your emotion to other people so that audience can feel the same emotion that musician express. So you can make someone emotionally synchronized. So that's why I thought it was a weird problem, because during the time that I focused on computer-mediated, I always created a system for parking. Right, I created a system for musicians so that they can effectively express their feeling or emotion to audience, or find a way, computational way to engage audience in a certain way, so that they can express their emotion more effectively. So that's because of that background, I thought that like, oh, empathy computing is focusing on portraying actors or portraying targeting in certain ways was kind of big. So just to give you a little bit of preview overview of what I did in music, like there's a lot of interactive systems that I created to support live, participatory, collaborative music performance. And then one term that happens in common is what's called live. So I brought this notion of liveness and then think about, oh, what does it mean to have liveness in HCI or designing interactive systems? So I had to give a definition for the sake of defending my research to all the other people. So I defined it in a way that this is the networking definition that I have. The extent to which a creative process is immediately and continuously visible or perceivable to spectators in interactive systems or media. And you can see there are people black coding in classroom, instructors black coding on students, or like these balloon artists who creates like this artifact in front of a child. That's an exciting part of the creative process, right? And one of the themes that I keep coming back to is this hypothesis that aliveness will take empathy. So this is the example picture where, oh, like this is the fried rice that you get in the, let's say, high-end restaurant. You may not think this is a dish from high-end restaurant, but if you see the entire process of that dish being cooked in front of you with all the form of action and all the efforts going in, and all the fresh ingredients, you may value it more, as opposed to the dish that comes out of the kitchen. There's another picture that is decent. Well, you may not think it's mesmerizing, but looking at the tinting being created in real time is not as yet. But in continuous visibility is the key element in the apocalypse. So then you feel mesmerized, right? And another favorite example that I have is the dog owner mounted a GoPro camera. And then like they left the home and they just wanted to take some video footage and wanted to see the video later. And I also do qualitative research as well. So I, as a qualitative researcher, I read all the comments and try to find out what kind of themes that emerge out of these comments. So there's some set of people that say, oh, it's the video is told myself, and they want to be able to get the video itself, which is, we understand. A large number of people were saying, oh, the dog is poor dog or great team, sorry for the dog. So this is what's called sympathy. They feel sorry for the dog. They don't feel wisdom. So what the government felt? There are some number of people who said, well, this video is scary. It's like watching horror movies. And then you can imagine that could have been the case, right? A lot of the government felt is that, oh, there's like some sound coming from the kitchen, goes there, there's nothing there, goes to the entrance, there's no sign of return, they're confused. So there are some people that the liveness of the video is that help people to become empathetic. So that's kind of the question that I'm talking today, and I'm going to show you an example from my research project. So the approach that I think is to therefore share the express, and the question that I'm posing is that how can support targets. I'm going to show 3 of my recent projects. So unfortunately, there's no rocket science in the project, but it's going to be pretty easy to understand. The first one was there's a conference called CNC, so basically a combination. They do a lot of work in creating context or artistic context. So one of the domains that we explored was creative writing. So writing is a dynamic process. Like when you write something, your time and then, try to capture it and refine it and polish it. And the readers get to use the final snapshot of it, right? So it's just purely artistic question of like, what if we reveal the process of creative writing? What would be the positive answer? So just created this website, which is basically a editor, so you can edit something. It's editor plus like a video player, and you can literally see a writer writing an essay, probably 3 years ago, as if you were writing. I mean, watching right behind the shoulder. So you can see that there's like a lot of those kind of line that they're creating immediacy, continuity, and perceivability. We see continuous perceivability, so that it has some sort of likeness in it. So we invited creative writers and asked them to write on a stage and show them their own replay as well as other people's replay. And then I'm gonna have to skip all the methodology, each methodology, study that we did, but the results indicate that writers consume the content in addition to the written writing. So when we read a book, we enjoy the content, right? But what they enjoy is watching someone write rather than content, because that's the creative part they like to see that they can engage with the creative concept. And then like the person said, oh, it's entertaining to see all of that happening, even though I know so like this person was watching their own report, but it was still entertaining. Another thing that we found is that writing with like facilitated self-awareness and self-expression. So you can imagine that like sports player, like they take the videotape their pause and like a hitting gesture or going for the goal. They take a video and try to analyze their pause or gesture, right? So you can see same kind of thing happen. Like they were able to see how they do it and then reflect themselves to other people's replay and then figure out, oh, there's a habit that I had to not. And then lastly, rebuilding a profession foster. Because of the struggle that writers have in creative practice, manifest with this replay, we're able to help people to have connection with the more deeper connection with this writing. We also wondered if this replay instead of good media to consume for readers. So these are not professional readers, more of a recreational reader. And then found out that we give them 4 different types of replay, and then some of them it had a higher engagement, like it was the difference of statistically significant. And then some of them actually were worse in terms of reading comprehension. So you can imagine that if it's written in a long linear way, like go back and forth, you can imagine that it could be difficult to comprehend. So the potential is that there is a way to make these replay a more engaging media than that. So that was also what we found from the qualitative open-ended answers from the music. So they found in the writing replay that we have new expressive media for writings. So temporal dynamics means that anything that you can do over time, like stuff that you decide to write and decide to believe, stuff that you are hesitant to write or not hesitant to write, like you can see those kind of pace of writing that emerge in this replay question, express certain type of emotion. Right. Interestingly, after we published the paper, we found out that actually they created this website where you can publish poems in this replay format. So it actually already does that. So an interesting conversation with this founders. So this is kind of the gist of the study. And then we are still continuing to understand the spectatorship. What's the effect of spectatorship in the context of so we have some sister project that I will briefly talk about. Like one of the projects that I'm doing is watch me watch. I don't know if you know reaction video. Like these days, people do not watch music video, but they watch someone watching that music video. Why do they do that? What's the motivation that they actually are studying that? The reason behind the phenomenon. The other thing that we're doing, watching is technical. The technical interview is the barrier to do. We got a job of talking. kind of like preparing it is difficult. Those students have to set aside a separate time and then write code, like the program in a way that they've never done before. They have to think aloud, and if there's no running compile environment, you just have to imagine how it works. And it's like a resource that we don't do it in general presentation. So would like being a spectator or like taking the interviewer's role with the help to be like prepared or how so what do I did in this talk? So it's the bringing this idea of blindness into writing, and the design idea that tested here is liveness in media and possibility. So that's the idea. The second idea, second project is for other two, which kind of in the name tells you something, right? So these are work that I've done with my colleagues and collaborators and students. So this particular thing focuses on filter. So filter bubble is barrier to computing. So when you want to share perspective with someone, and if you are abstracting filter bubble is hard to understand. And the filter bubble is the term that point out. Like Fraser said, filter bubble is your own personal universe of information that's been generated by algorithms that guess what you're interested in. So if you open up Twitter or YouTube or like news media, like all the feed, content on the feed is highly curated by the platform. So what's behind the algorithm is history, interaction history. So if you see a particular video from one channel, it is likely that another video from the channel is recommended. So if it's like a landing page of YouTube, you see it's like a recommended video. So obviously, this filter bubble is not a good thing, right? But why do we have this filter bubble? It's because the companies, their motivation is to keep you engaged with the content. Their financial motivation is to keep you stay on the platform as long as possible. So this is actually my son's YouTube website, which is probably completely different from your YouTube anything. And it's challenging to get past this filter bubble. So here one participant said, I sometimes want to find a new song and I have to basically open it in content notes and pretend I'm just random nobody. It's actually novel or interesting to me. So it is difficult to get something new that has to filter. So the question that we're talking here is that how can you help you be aware of the filter bubbles and recognition and discover content outside? So we created this Chrome extension. What Chrome extension does is just to pick up your recommended video and then block with Chrome. And then the idea here is that the best way to recognize your filter bubble is to be in fragments. So it's like a very short demo, and then you have to create an anonymous profile. And then the fact that it has to be anonymous is very important because sharing your recommended video with someone is really intimidating. Help you guys to open them. So you have to specify your gender, ethnicity, and the rough range of your state, roughly your age, where you live, roughly in Illinois. And then once you log in, you open the refresh page, and on the top you get this new recommended video from other people, and then you still get your own recommended video at the bottom. And then there's like a button that you keep pressing, so another person might get another set of persons so that you can see, go through and browse. So let's see. So again, we're going to give you others than mine, and then you see this anonymous profile. And here you can see that like white female in their 50s, who lives in North Carolina. Obviously into Indian music. So something new, like YouTube that you never would expect from YouTube, or maybe even like someone in the group, maybe they're into yoga or video as a background music or so you never know. So again, skipping the study detail, we did a field study and then let them use the extension for, I think for at least two. And then their quantitative result as well, but like qualitative result indicates that other two don't recognize their filter level. They could see how different other people recognize video clip there, so that they could learn what kind of video that they by reflecting themselves. And like we hope, being in another person's portfolio is cool because they were able to discover new content. So here one person says, I don't want to listen to class music, but he was a welcome. More interestingly, sharing our video reduced cost. So, like one comment that I like here is that I found it very cool that someone in their 40s was still watching it over there. Makes me feel better about it. I saw a male leader watching some homemade vlog. So, like some of the stereotypes that we have in mind, it was reduced because of the taste and identification is by watching someone's video, and then you can even see, oh, like something interesting is happening in someone's life. Like when you see this baby shower video recommended, and you can see, oh, this person's a new baby. How exciting! So you have to nice social connection. So what I did here is when you think about a spectrum of personalization, on one hand, we can imagine that like let's just recommend 10 random videos. It's going to be awful, right? Obviously, if you pick the 10 random video and then you watch it, it's very not likely. Or you can go by popularity, like this. Show top 10 or top 20 popular video. And what we have today is recommended video that is highly personalized based on the interaction. Well, other two is that like it's still highly personalized to someone, not me, but someone else. But because of the difference in diversity that we have in our case, it is a new content. So if you notice this like full-time similarity happening here, depending on where they are, there could be something that is really engaging, something that I would pay, like and then the spectrum of diverse content that others can recommend is also results of AI. Because AI algorithm is highly curated with content towards a person, and you can use the AI to diversify content and support it. So that's kind of the idea of this. That's the idea. And last project that I want to share is something called Modus.
Can I ask a question about the? I have a question about the other two.
Yes.
So, filter bubbles are biased, but they are highly efficient.
Yeah.
Because if I am interested in this,
Mhm.
now it could be that I get really bored.
You can just say efficient in what?
Efficient in I'm looking at what I'm interested in,
Okay.
as opposed to my YouTube page shows, you know, their ages. I have nothing. I'm like,
Yeah.
skip. Come on, this is really boring. Skip. Did you measure that? So to see if people, I mean, qualitatively, there are some comments that
Yeah.
welcomed it, but for how long? It could be that, you know, I welcome it for a week because it's great, you know, I see something different, but then, you know, I just want to hang out with my peeps.
Yes. So thank you for the question. So there are two different answers that I have. One is that we measured the willingness to share their video with others. So that could be a proxy of that's like because that's kind of the like price of getting other video. So that was increasing. The other thing is that yes, it is efficient, but is it good?
It's biased, well, it's efficient.
Right, well, there are a lot of efficient of other efficient things. So I'm not saying like as you're wrong. Efficient for companies to keep them engaged. Is that a good thing that we should like keep encouraging people to do? That's like a big thing. So yeah, perfect.
I think the question is, the reason that you did this was, to, showcase other people's perspectives, not necessarily as a replacement tool for, you go about your normal way of finding
Yeah.
computer, right?
Yes.
So what Daniel is saying is, could this, if this were to be used as a normal way of accessing YouTube, maybe it takes it too far. Right? That would not be efficient, you're gonna skip a lot.
Right, so
Maybe you get something that's mildly interesting, but you like what you like, and you don't know like
Yeah.
that stuff.
right, so it could be that, after several, so you're using AI, right? So the AI may learn that I like this kind of stuff, even though it's outside my bubble, right? And so, but I don't like this other kind of stuff, so instead of, the curation could be.
So I think it goes both ways. We have a desire to watch, content that I would enjoy. But also, like, you might have experienced of like, like opening Netflix and you spend like 10 to 20 minutes to figure out what to watch. Like in a minute, like you say, someone else is Netflix and like there's so many different movies, that's why so discovering new content, that's the desire. And then that's the reason why we're not replacing these with still them side by side, so that they can still watch the rest of the video from the bottom and the side as well.
So, do you see any patterns in, the experience someone had in, using the bubble, giving the bubble?
So it's a super interesting question. We want to, but it's really privacy invasive. Like, so that means that we want to see what they're watching. So we decided not to like try and pick up something. So no, we didn't. But we didn't really see, at least from the quality, but so there's a debate about the study, like should we share what they watched versus recommend video versus like should we collect this data, and then if someone see like we should do you want to share your, so that's very related to this empathy, like that I'm gonna talk about there. Empathy supporting target is part of the way to support target is helping them, giving them a courage to be vulnerable. That's like one of the things, which is not very, but that's the reason why we not the like data that could help us. Whether that's going to be another thing.
I guess one might way to collect that data without looking at the people watch, the sentiment of like, the review of what.
Yeah, I do not, so unfortunately, we didn't do experiment, meaning that we have a baseline condition, published condition, so we can compare those two, but we like rather look at temporal analysis over time, so there is some quantitative data.
Have you actually like thought about doing like perspective sharing on websites that could like include controversial topics such as Reddit or X?
Yeah, so that's something that we haven't done yet. But obviously we can apply this sort of thing in news or what appears in my Twitter. Like maybe it's always associated with one particular source of so there was a desire, and there was actually papers that has done it in the level of like headlines, like outlines of the headlines of the news. Like this is kind of the feed that other people see. So there is existing study that does kind of what we have.
Sorry, you might be talking about this later, but kind of following up on that. So it seems like that there needs to be conditions that would affect the results of these manipulations, how empathetic the person already is, or what. So like in example of other two, it actually could introduce new stereotypes and new biases. Women of this age group are going to have, or I'm never going to be like women of this age group. In fact, actually, that study of news showed that when they show opposing news to people become even more polarized. And
Yeah.
not only they don't understand that a perspective, they actually stick to their own perspective when it's stronger.
Yeah,
So that's kind of like, both for the watch me right and attitude seems like that it could completely go the other way and create, like, we have done research in Twitch that live streaming actually promotes cyberbullying. So if people see other people play,
yeah,
because of like some conditions and that, so.
yeah.
It's wondering like, what you need that these would really be positive results as opposed to actually negative.
Yeah, so that's actually a great point, like, it's like there's always a risk of empowering. Already means that you're doing someone on the web. Okay. So that's really without concern, and then, in our case, we just did completely randomize what was gonna come from the personas, like the list of personas that will, show up in the feed, so that's, as much as we could show from the study for the past forward. So we cannot tell like how the is stand. We will verify or not, we develop the stereotype, people to evaluate, but just by looking at it. So we did not, and then what we did instead was to collect data from peoples and then pick random. So that was the control that we have, which is not perfect. I can do it. Which is actually related to any other?
It's usually a bit paradoxical at first, but was there a filter for the recommendations they received? Because if it's based off of the recommendation,
Yeah.
they're watching a lot of family videos,
Right.
and you see in your other two,
Yeah.
little Danny's 8th grade party or whatever, it's gonna reveal identifying information.
And that was one of the findings in the study, like, oh, like, I wish there was a way to filter out certain types of content. That was the finding of the study based on our analysis. Okay. So MOVES is the, multi-product that I'm doing at the moment, so, when we say perspective sharing, we say put yourself in someone else's shoes, right? Because when you see from their shoes, things are different, right? And it is actually like a meme that I really like to use in my class, really conveying the message of like, there are multiple stakeholders in design topics or design as well. But also it's a useful meme to talk about this. Sometimes this visual perspective is needed if they don't have to say anything. So the particular concept that we for this VR headset. So VR headset, like, if someone is wearing VR and having fun inside it or crying, there's no way for bystanders to know. You cannot see it. So sometimes you cannot see what they see, sometimes it's visual perspective that you need. And obviously we have a solution, and one of the solution is you wear a headset. Right? You also wear a headset and you see what's going on. You can synchronize the space between multiple headset and share this. There's something uncomfortable with this. Maybe it's because the only person who's not here is the person who's but I know one of the reasons, and one of the reasons is that the VR headset is not designed for everything. So this popular wearing VR headset is only available in stock dimensions with a search. Does not exist in the real world. Manufacturers do not recommend children to wear their headset because it impacts their vision. You do not know what kind of power concern. And sometimes it's because of the hair texture, or people with nausea, or some hygiene reason. There's a lot of different ways that we don't really know there. Then we're missing some opportunity to use this device or VR immersive content to educate children how cool it will be to show this moving picture of science in real scale, in a science museum that's supposed to be, static, here, or maybe being able to solar system, like, visualize solar system at the top, so that you can see the entire thing, or atoms, or neutrons, like, that there so many potential that we cannot utilize because of this lack of inclusivity. So we downgraded the technology and we use mobile devices instead to help people learn STEM materials in the context of informal learning, like informal learning is a science degree. So we are actually, this is an ongoing study, and we developed this platform where multiple people can use the system. So although I said demo, it's just that it was not an official demo. I was just taking video of my son playing with it because I had to take it to my lab and my phone. But it turns out it's the most important there. As a parent, I'm just happy to have him use the system and allow him to play with it. As opposed to if it was VR headset, I would not. And then like there are multiple user platforms that we develop and we did an experiment to design to understand the design implications of these sort of multi-user VR platforms, because that's new thing that we have never experienced. Like, have you ever seen like tens of people like running around in the world with VR headset? That's like rare, right? So we need a new set of applications with other studies. But also what we're doing is to share and sound. We are actually partnering with the Science Museum in Western Virginia, and then create this immersive content and solar system. So that, and then we participated, use this system in one of the summers. So, yeah, probably can agree with this. So, like, I don't know if you can see, like, there was like, not like you see almost nothing. That's like a real scale of solar system. You see the real scale, like sun is like a tiny dot. And when you see closer than the textbook, like it's like large, like this is what it looks like from a distance. But like for the sake of examination, like you can evaluate it, and then like at the end of the day, they are asked to create their own planet. They can choose the temperature or like the duration of the length of the day and mass. And then you put it in the solar system, and then you can get beyond. So that they get to learn a lot of STEM materials. So that's one way that I try how to share perspective in virtual content and scale these immersive experiences to for the group of users, so that we can keep all the good things in learning, right? And when you learn, when you have an instructor, all these in-person content is still preserved with this like tablet device, you can see the virtual content as well as things around it, talk to their peers. So I'm gonna actually give you some takeaways. So it's I think is a dual process. The message that I'm trying to convey. So there's actor and target, and then what I've been doing is focusing on target. So how computers mediate our communication and social interaction and shape target expressivity, thereby affecting actors' ability. So have targets to express, and then actors will empathize with target. So that's kind of the things that I talked about today, and of course, it would be great. It would be great if you can think about how we can differentiate between them. And all of these ideas come from these classic literature from CSW, social computing, where they talk about this context of awareness, groupware, social transferences. Like these are the classic literature cases of learning and consideration. So now I'm trying to fill out the right side, and then I'm going to give you some project that I'm doing relevant to the right side. Then it's going to go from better into it.
So one of the threads that I do is using computer-mediated. So I still do, like, a lot of projects that integrate domain as well as physical domain, music. So using computer to give, people a way to, effectively express their emotion, that's going to contribute to this, empathy. The other thing that I keep coming back to is this self-tracking and self-reflection. So I talked about self-reflection briefly, through others, but I realized that self-reflection is a critical component for expression. You have to understand yourself to express yourself. You might have experienced like knowing that you're not really mad, but you don't really know why you got mad. So externalizing your thought and the reflection upon it is important. So how can you help people to reflect themselves to accomplish it? That's sort of another that we're going through. And then also the other thing that we found out is that there are a lot of psychology literature that says that if you're good at self-reflection, that means you're likely to be. So I also, and so in that regard, I created a productive tool. So it's like slightly different from the empathy, but like I have worked on some productivity tools that you can help knowledge workers to be save their time and be more productive. So here, like a system called Screen Trap, it's basically like a timeless video of your computer screen. So you take a screenshot of your computer every 5 seconds or 10 seconds and create a video out of it. So imagine that you go out for lunch and go for a meeting and then come back to your office 2 hours later and then think about, oh, what do I do? What do I work on? Where to go? And you can see the video that quickly remember what you have worked on. In addition, you can open all the application and web pages and files that are available. So it can help mental reconstruction as well as restoring work time. This is another project that uses screenshot as a way to bookmark. The bookmarking is like, holding on to the web page, right? But screenshot is going to work with any web application and any number of windows. And if you take a screenshot, all of the application will be captured. So on this thread, we thought that, oh, this kind of video could be useful for self-reflection because not only you can restore the work content, but also you can use it to understand your own productivity. So we did study and then just published, we're going to publish this paper soon and then compare this with probably called rescue time. So rescue time is the self-tracking tool where it checks all the metadata with apps that you use and then categorize it to productive category or distracting category and tell you how much time you spend on the application versus via on the video. And then we randomize the order. One person experienced both conditions, then we randomize the order. So what's surprising is that their perceived productivity. So they think that they were more productive when they watched kind of thing. It was not true, like in objective productivity, the objective productivity we use rescue time and then actually use their measure. Were they productive or not? There was no significant difference, but they think they were more productive when they watched the video, which actually contributes their report. Right? Then they think the kind of video was more effective for self-reflection. And then I forgot to bring this significant symbol, but what's interesting is that their actual productivity went up at the second. In which order they use, like these applications, on the second week their productivity actually went up. So it actually makes impact in at least in this measure, in this way of measuring stuff. And what's more exciting for me was that this kind of video changed their reflection of positive. So here is the comment that we made to relate to. So here is one provocation. Student was saying that, oh, I found that I only read 2 papers, but I was supposed to do 3 papers on this plan. This made me feel a bit tough to be motivated for not being able to finish my work. Later, when I went back to my videos, I found I was actually doing lots of searching on this paper related work, spending more time with understanding the model, not homework.
So I know I really did something that's good, but I stopped blaming myself. So this rich detail kind of video was able to help them maybe perceive their productivity in a positive way. That is not really, that does not manifest in this kind of time frame. Okay, so the last thread I wanted to have in this method is to create safe investment performance. And again, expression is taking the risk of being vulnerable. So creating safe and judgment space is the prerequisite for this. So a typical way to product online safety, machine learning is really effective, right? But of course, there are some human observation, like Reddit, you have a moderator or something like odd that you fix certain types of words, and scaffolded coordination, or AI for policing or detection, such as triggering content, predatory online behaviors, or good speech. So those are good approach to make our online space safer, right? But if you think about it, these algorithm is not going to be perfect. There's always going to be false positives, which could be ironically could suppress our. So I completely value this type of work, but I thought it would be nice to have other type of work, like and then I get inspiration from protection motivation theory, psychology theory. So motivation to protect themselves is there are two different components. One, threat appraisal, an assessment of the threat severity, your own susceptibility to the threat, and how vulnerable you feel. So you have to lower the threat. It's one thing, which is what we're doing in the AI and ML experience. The other thing you could do is coping, increasing coping. So coping appraisal is the other component. Protection and motivation theory, your assessment of your own ability to take action with work or will overcome the disease. So raising awareness, self-reflection, resilience, responsible design, those are the important targets so that they can they're more relative. So that's kind of the direction that I take. I use AI to empower users. So a lot of the project that I do is not to detect all of these detection included, but I focus on people who rather than content, like I focus on people. So here's an example where when someone posts a video, like they are nudged right before they post something to evaluate their content, and then like the LLM behind the protocol again is going to see if there's any trigger and content or something, because we don't have all kinds of awareness on what will be triggered for it. I get triggered by beats of words. Nobody would expect it. Somebody gets triggered by balls. And having no awareness is not it's having having awareness in these kind of things is going to contribute to creating online safety. So we have this measure, and then it's going to guide you how to add these trigger warning, content warning sign, TW/TW, and they give some cues about how it is triggering. Like, on the top it says medical abuse or sexual abuse or suicide. Those kind of cues are recommended. Another project that we're just going to start is to empower adolescents to be more resilient inside of them. So there are a lot of approaches to detect cyber bullying on media, again, which is not going to be perfect. So we decided to create online program that will help adolescents to interact with this fake predator. Which is not scary, right? But then through this interaction, we are going to help them learn what's going to make you vulnerable. Like, for example, sharing your information, personal information is not good. Telling them that your parents are out of town this weekend is not good. Like, those kind of things will be part of the. So we're working with NLP researchers and domain experts. Last project is collaborative co-writing conversation with AI. So when you encounter a hate speech with a video, like in a nice, like in a political behavior that we can encourage it to write a counter speech. But like people may not have an idea of how to write such a counter speech, so we are helping, using, ChatGPT and LLM to help social media users, if they're willing to, how to respond to how to take speeches, and then they can set the tone, so they can get the ideas, and then their full elaboration, not something that will automatically do it, but it's like they suggest a few things, the simplistic tone, the human tone, complication, and then they can understand the consequences of each tone and have agency in how to write their. So yeah, I'm probably gonna have to stop, but like one thing that I want to highlight is that there's like this high tension between privacy and empathy. Like privacy, again, empathy is that expressing and revealing your context and personal big data. If I share it with someone that may help other people to understand me, but you have to, that means that you are sharing your own personal data. So we need to pay attention to this tension. And then I also do understanding computer-mediated communication, and I'm not going to go over this particular project, but it's interesting at the time. So this framework is useful elsewhere. So this is the framework that I'm trying to establish over my career. It's not going to be done in one paper. I'm trying a lot of different things. So, but I thought this framework would be useful for elsewhere too. So I tried to play with it and replace this actor with a computer. And then we can call it computer computer empathetic improvement. And it's already being done in the field of affective computing, computer detecting a facial expression, if they're sad, whether it's emotional disgusting, whether it can detect a certain agitation from their voice. So there's a lot of active research right now in this domain. So I feel like I would have to do it. More interesting for me is that empathize. So we're gonna live in the world where we're gonna collaborate, coexist with intelligent agents, right? So our job, I mean, not like, you know, it would be like, you know, in terms of these having like equitable access to these technologies, like we need to help them understand AI, help them have computational topics that they could take advantage of these tools that we're having. But also, computers should be able to express their intention more effectively so that humans gonna know what they're. So that's always being done, explaining about AI, and that exploration. So that's kind of the part that I'm more interested in. So yeah, that's all I have. Thank you very much for listening.
Or in real life that doesn't have any agents.
So it doesn't have handle.
Agents, like it's.
Right.
Or feelings.
Oh, you.
Yeah. So there are, in psychology, there are two types of cognitive empathy and affective. Affective empathy is linked to emotion. There's something we need to do. But we don't, I don't feel like we have to recognize emotion, but the context, like why did it happen? Why did it make such a decision? Understanding that is really, really important. And let's say manufacturing, robot arms is moved in a certain way, right? Robot arms moving in a certain way could kill people, like the wrong person. So, like if I do this, like there's certain gesture that I'm making so that you know what's going to happen. Right? Is it robot going to communicate that with me? So that, like we're going to coexist with AI and robots. So knowing the intention and how it's going to work, anticipating how it's going to work is, I think, is what we do. And then one other example that I gave you was safety. But also, we just a black box and then you don't understand why when you connect ChatGPT to your API today. Like so you can create an engine and then like make it connected with Google Trends, or maybe imagine that it decided to create a block of meeting with the advisor for the you want to know and then you want to control. So that's like reason why I think empathetic is needed, even though it does not have agency, it can make a huge.
But is empathy about control?
Empathy is about understanding.
But it's a, I think you're sharing information. If I need to understand what my computer does something, it's just having a certain model, I don't need to be having to.
Yeah, I think that, more actually active research term that it's been using in the human AI collaboration, shared mental model is actually, probably the more, study around the living mental, to repair. But also, I think there are certain things that shared mental model may not capture, for example, context, contextual information around, computer development that, and that then like the mental model of computers, and then like together we can give even more comprehensive.
I personally think that it would be, it's a good tool, I think, to teach empathy for those people who are not empathetic, but I fail to see what the goal of being empathetic with a computer itself is. And I think that, hate to say that, but, sometimes maybe empathy is overrated.
I agree, I actually agree. So I am not saying empathy is a panacea to every problem. I don't know, like you don't wanna feel every kind of thing that everyone is having right now. It's gonna be a failure. But we do not know, like we have to know the effects of empathy and how we facilitate it, and so that we can decide when and where. So I think understanding is way to get there, way to know that, oh, this is probably going to be useful versus.
Right, so I think as a tool to teach empathy and the right proper interactions, I think this would be really great.
Yeah.
I have another question. Did you have a question? I don't.
I mean, I'll get to asking questions later on as well, so like, yeah, go ahead, Daniel.
No, if you have a question.
I wanted to actually follow up on computer-mediated tools. So is there something specific about computer mediation that changes empathy? Like, would it be different, or are empathetic people the same online and offline, or is there a difference when the communication happens through the computer? So then if you are thinking of using the computer as a tool, how is that different than if we put people kind of in other communications?
So in the context of computer-mediated communication, are you talking about the people communication or people?
So if someone has empathy, is that an individual characteristics, or is that individual characteristics in specific context?
I think it's still better. You know this bounding in communication, I think there's a 1991 article that for every CHW researcher site, which is about like constraint the media visibly, whether I can see this person or not, audibly, whether I can hear this person or not, whether this information is gonna get immediately or not, like that. Confident that the way that my computer mediated our communication is going to be like, the way that I speak to you in the voice versus like over chat. Like, so even when the person on the other side could be a sick person, just going to have different level of information compared to me talking to you with that's the way that we design communication interaction is going to be very have significant impact on the capability of actors.
Which I think goes back to the trigger content you're warning. You know, you said, we're gonna warn people, but this is also following up on this conversation. It depends on who it is, right? So, I mean, there are some things that, that probably are absolute triggers for everybody that we should try to avoid, but then there's a really super large gray zone, right? That some people would be, so is the trigger content and the trigger warning that you were working on for a specific social network? So if I post something, probably my friends are going to see it, and so I want to be warned about that. If I know that somebody had an experience, or if they, how's this work? Because in general, I can't see how it works, because
So-
why?
Where our assumption is that not everyone will perfectly know what that is. It's not triggering content, it's like, let's say harmless content, to me, could be triggering content, because I don't have the answer. Right, so, but then, like, there's a paper about someone posting like a baby shower picture on Facebook, that was actually a triggering content to someone with like mistake. Like, you know, who would have expected, right? So, so we are designing this, nudging mechanism based on, informed by existing literature out there, there's like all different kinds of triggering content, a paper, found out. Design a prompt structure of the GPT to see, like, give them these 12 categories. Tell us which categories it should belong to, and then telling them that, oh, this actually belongs to these categories. And then through that process, they learn, oh, I didn't know that people can have trigger or trauma on this topic, so that ways of so it's education. Science. Did I answer your question, or did I
You did
avoid your question?
No, you did answer the question, so that means it's a generic, it's not targeted towards your group, right? Because it could be that I have a group of friends that I make computer jokes and they understand it, and I have a group of friends who can't understand what binary numbers are, so, you know,
Yeah, I mean,
they're completely different conversations.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be warned,
right,
you know, that, oh, nobody's gonna understand this
Yeah.
joke, because there are 3 people that I know that will understand my joke.
yeah, so we actually did interview study before we built the system. And then, like, there was one, theme that emerged was like, oh, this is like my private account where I, post artistic photo, which includes nudity, but like Instagram always to censor it. Like, it doesn't know, like, it's private account, I only, like, to show, like, in who follow me, it's a completely, you know, things to do within the context of, which is question. But AI is not perfect. So context matter, but then also users understanding our context is social media, different kind of contexts are collapsing. You're acting friend here, friends from high school, like following, so it's all mixed up. So it's difficult to know that, like, and it's difficult to guarantee that it's break down. And then it's not my work, it's all well researched. The CSW, which goes back to that. Yeah, so actually I had a question, like, following up on Dr. Daniel's question. So in cognitive science, there is like one way to assess the computer abilities. Like, one way to assess cognitive abilities of reasoning of AI is using some sort of like cognitive benchmarks, such as theory of mind. I'm not sure if you have heard of this benchmark. So I'm not sure if there is like something like a situation theory of mind instead of like cognitive science, like benchmark is that computer have to recognize the situation before it gives an answer. Is there such theory in psychology you're aware of or not? I don't think I am aware of what you're referring to.
So,
Let me give you an example, like, I wouldn't tell a computer science joke for my, for my 2-year-old son, for example. But, I can give him like a joke about, his favorite. YouTube show. So I'm not- Yeah, so I'm not sure if there is a grounded research,
Yeah.
theory in psychology in which, like,
That's
given
the-
situation, would you actually take
That's exactly a common ground, grounding. How do we figure out whether we have a common ground? Communication. That has been done. Can you recommend?
common ground? It's called common ground.
Grounding and communication.
Okay.
We have a minute, so I want to take that minute to compare, combine the three concerns, I think.
Maybe hard to-
No, I mean, it's not kind of like, this part of it is where it kind of like, I don't quite grasp it, which is, in sense that like, when we talk about empathy, we're talking about a certain sense of like goal or value alignment, right? Like there's a congruence. I empathize with a fellow human being on the notion of shared humanness, right? I empathize more with maybe Nepali people or like, people who have international here because we have shared experiences to ground it with, right?
Right.
So there's a whole congruence or a value alignment. And when it comes to machines, and especially when we look at some of these AI machines that are making decisions that may extract labor, extract from us, may not align with our values, in that case, wouldn't calling it empathizing with the AI actually disempower us? Like I'm kind of thinking about an early experience I had with a family who I interviewed around like drugs. Their child had a drug issue and then they constantly kind of poured money on the child every time to be disappointed and like couldn't resolve it at all. And what I ended up feeling with this emotionally loaded question was that like I wish they didn't love me enough. Like I didn't love him this much, right? And I feel like there's this disempowerment with empathy that can happen when you're working with contexts that do not align with your goals or your values, which often, like, especially with these AI systems, there is a risk of that happening.
Which is exactly why we need to know HCI, especially if you're interested in AI. When you develop AI, you have to have a certificate. So then consider ethical implications of it. So it's not your value. But, yeah, that's-
I guess for like a last question, going back to the, trigger warning tagging system. What was the advantage of a tagging system that uses AI like that be versus a tagging system that's less invasive to the actual post? Because I feel like the main issue is user fatigue. Like if you always want them, oh, you want to put a warning on this post, no matter what the post is, they'll just become apathetic to it. But just having like maybe something on the side that says what it could potentially reduce or like potential tags they can just drag and drop onto the post could also be effective.
Versus which one are you comparing? And you're comparing to which?
Comparing it to the AI system, which might have some false negative or the always mentioned feature.
Right, so we are nudging people to change their behavior to, behave in a more social way as well as raising awareness by this nudging mechanism, injected as part of the posting process, as opposed to respond reactively, detect. So that's, even though like it's detection is the same, but when is it happening, who is it happening, and who has the agency to do it, that's the.
I think we need to wrap it up now. Thank you all for coming and thank you, CFP. Thank you very much. There's still chance for graduate students if you want to talk to him at 4:15 to meet with him at 6516. We have the booth reserved for an hour or so. So if you want and have more questions for Sam, please come visit at 6516.
For people who don't know the number, it's the small or glass or use or water fountain.
Yeah.